Back to Miller. Oh my goodness.
Herbert, sidearm sling, and it's a touchdown.
Tyrese Maxey.
Oh, good spin move by Filipowski for the news. Give him 9.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Beef Up Front podcast. A new little backdrop here for this episode of the NFL Big Five Games of the Week. This is your host, Ryan Coyle, joined alongside Kevin Cannon as we bring you our preview of the 5 biggest games for the upcoming NFL schedule for Week 5. We're starting to get into the thick of things. A quarter of the season done now. We're starting to see what teams are really made of, what teams are going to be picking towards the bottom, and some of the worst teams that are going to be at the top of the draft, and then some of the teams that are starting to look like legit contenders. A lot of them are teams that we thought, but then you got like teams like the Bengals who are off to a 1-3 start. Eagles and 49ers still sitting there at 4-0. So a lot of storylines to get into, and we'll hit on as many as we can with our 5 games. Just to recap Week 4 real quick. Not our strongest week, but 7-8. I went 2-3 straight up on our picks, 2-3 against the spread, 3-2 on the total. Went 0-1 on my lock of the week, which was the under in the Bears-Broncos game. That one wasn't close. And then I went 1-0 on my dog of the day, hitting on Seattle while we got them at plus money. And Kev, you went 6-9, 2-3 straight up, 1-4 against the spread, 3-2 on your total as well, 0-1 on your lock, and 1-0 on your dog, which was the Rams over the Colts. So we head into Week 5 now. Phillies playoffs starting tonight. Good times in Philadelphia. Welcome back, Kevin. How are we?
Good. Hopefully I can rebound after that 6-9 week last week.
All right. We start on Sunday this week, and we start on Sunday morning, actually, for the 9:30 a.m. game in London. This one will be on the NFL Network. You have the Jags at 2-2, who just played last week in London at 9:30 a.m. So they're staying over there. They've been over there. They're adjusted. They'll be playing the Bills, who are 3-1, coming in red hot, maybe looking like the best team in the league after that Week 1 performance against the Jets. And the Bills are a 5-point favorite here. Over under is 48.
I'm taking the Jags in the upset here, 24, Bills 23, Jags covering that 5, and the under at 48 hidden. I picked against the Bills last week, and that blew up in my face, obviously, with them smoking the Dolphins. I'm not going to pick them again here. The Jags have already been in London for a full week, and I think they show why so many people had them as a dark horse Super Bowl team in the beginning of the season. They haven't really lived up to expectations yet so far. Josh Allen and the whole Bills team has looked amazing since that rough Week 1 loss to the Jets. Obviously, the Bills can win this game, and on paper, they probably should. I'm kind of just picking the Jags here because I don't really want to admit that I might have been wrong and too hard on the Bills. And I think them already being over in London is a big deal. So I'm going with the Jags in an upset here.
Yeah, we're on the same page with this one, Kev. I'm going with the Jags with the upset, too. I'm going to take it a little bit higher scoring. I'll go 27-24. So Jags obviously cover that +5. They win this one outright in the over of 48. I think other than Week 1, like I kind of said in the intro, you can make an argument that the Bills have looked like the best team in the NFL and Josh Allen playing like the MVP of the league. I was full in on bashing him after that Week 1 performance and kind of how he played over the second half of last season. But now he's looking like the Josh Allen that we were seeing, in the playoffs against Kansas City a few years back, towards like the beginning of last year, where he can be the best player in the NFL on any given Sunday, but he also is good for some implosions at times as well. So it really depends what kind of Josh Allen you get, and that's really why I'm so hesitant to fully believe in them and say that they're the best team in the AFC, just because they could implode at any time if he wants to go out there and have one of those 3 turnover games. So I think the Bills having to travel to London after the Jaguars are already there and adjusted, not just for this season, but historically. There's like a lot of guys still on this Jags team that have done this before over the past few years. Second straight week they're over there. They're adjusted like body clock wise and all. They don't have to worry about that travel. I think that's just a huge leg up for this. And I think the Jags have underwhelmed a little bit, like you were saying, Kev, to start the season. They need to turn it on a little bit. And the division's a close race. You got the Texans with 2 wins, the Colts with 2 wins, and the Titans with 2 wins. So everything's really neck and neck right there. This would be a big win for like a momentum builder to kind of start pushing towards that type of team we thought they could be, maybe like a 12, 13 win type squad. So with Josh Allen been so good since Week 1, I think this is one of the games that he could be due for a bit of a letdown. And he's just too much of a streaky guy, I think, to bet on consistently to dominate 3-4 straight weeks in a row. So give me the Jags pulling off a little bit of a shocker here. Find a way to win in London, basically their second home. So Jags +5 over 48, and Jags get the outright victory as well. All right, we go to the AFC South now with a division battle. The 2-2 Titans travel to the 2-2 Colts, 1 o'clock on CBS. Colts are a 1-point favorite at home here, and the over-under is 42.
I'm going Titans 23 and the Colts 21. In my opinion, this was the hardest game to pick between. Not really sure what to make of either of these teams here. Every time you expect the Titans season to be over, they come out and just have a huge win, and they've kind of always been doing that under the Mike Vrabel era. The Colts have pretty much already exceeded expectations already, in my opinion. Shane Steichen looks like he's been able to create a really solid culture there in Indy and a great scheme. Anthony Richardson, the starting quarterback, is going to be back this week after being out last week. And the Titans' weakness on defense is through the air, and I just don't think Richardson has shown enough with his arm for me to be able to confidently pick him in the Colts here. His legs have looked great, but the Titans' rush defense is very good. I think the Titans play a typical Titans game here, run the ball effectively. Ryan Tannehill, a lot of play action, control the clock, and Vrabel comes up with a solid defensive game plan against a very inexperienced rookie QB.
I like the Titans here too, Kev, on the road. I'll take them 21-17, so Titans +1, under 42 here. I'm going to take another upset here with, as you were just touching on, the Titans on the road against a young quarterback. I think this defense and Vrabel are going to find some ways to get to Anthony Richardson. Richardson's shown some really good flashes as a passer. He missed that one game with a concussion, basically the whole other game against the Texans too. He only played, I think, like the first quarter. But he's shown good flashes as a passer. That was the main question mark, I think, with him coming out of the draft. But he was hyped up to be a great rusher, and he's looked like a really good rushing threat so far. Already has 131 yards and 4 touchdowns, only playing in 2 full games, and then basically just played that quarter against the Texans, like I said, before getting that concussion. But now he's back fully healthy. But this is his biggest test yet. This Titans run defense is holding their opponents to only 70 rushing yards per game. And I don't think I have enough faith in him, Anthony Richardson, as a passer just yet to overcome this run game potentially being stopped. I saw Jonathan Taylor was practicing this week potentially, but I don't think he'll be back for this one. If he is, that certainly adds another element, but he's also coming off an ankle injury. He hasn't played in a while. I don't know how good he'll be off the start. So there's a lot of unknowns still with this Colts team. I'm not going to bet this game just because the Titans themselves are a really unpredictable team. Losing 27-3 to the Browns, then beating the Bengals 27-3. I just don't really know what you're going to get with them yet. But I do feel safer taking them to win this game, especially with Vrabel as an underdog. He always has his guys ready to go in that regard. And the run defense, I think, is going to kind of stifle Anthony Richardson a little bit. So I think this is an ugly game, but the Titans find a way to win 21-17. Third game of the week, one of my favorite games of the year on the NFL calendar. The Ravens at 3-1 will be playing the 2-2 Steelers in Pittsburgh. 1 o'clock kick on CBS. Ravens are listed as a 4.5-point favorite right now. Over-under is 38.5. Remains to be seen if Kenny Pickett plays after suffering a bone bruise in his knee last week. If he's unable to go, we will get Mitch Trubisky. So I'm not sure if that has any influence on your pick, Kev, the way that Kenny Pickett's been playing. But what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, it doesn't really have an influence. I'm going Ravens 20, Steelers 13, Ravens covering the spread and the under at 38.5 hidden. Like you said, Kenny Pickett may not be able to go, and if he's not able to go, it'll be Mitch Trubisky. But no matter who plays for me, it's still going to be the Ravens that I'm going with. The Steelers' offense has been pretty terrible this year. They're only averaging 12.5 points per game this year. A lot of their points are coming from defensive touchdowns. Both teams have a pretty decent defense, but I think the Ravens have way more options and creativity on offense. Lamar and the Ravens can begin to take hold of the division with a win here as well coming into the year. Many thought this might be the most competitive division in the NFL with 4 teams that had serious playoff hopes and even some with Super Bowl aspirations, but Baltimore could end up having it wrapped up pretty early if things keep going the way they have been.
Yeah, I'm just really surprised. We kind of touched on the beginning how bad the Bengals have looked. The Steelers, I was expecting to take a leap up. The Browns have looked really good on the defensive side of the ball, but then Deshaun Watson missed a game last week. They were unable to do anything on offense. So, like you're saying, the Ravens are starting to pull away, and if they're able to go get this one on the road at the Steelers, they're going to start giving themselves some real significant kind of gap there in the division. So I think this is a huge game for not just the division, but potentially even seeding down the line. If this Ravens team continues to play the way that they have through these 4 games, I think they could be potentially in that number 1 seed type range. So I'm going to take the Ravens here. I just think they're the better team, even with it being on the road. I'm going to go 20-17. So I will take the Steelers plus 4.5 and the under of 38.5 there. But a quick note on this Ravens-Steelers rivalry. In the last 6 matchups in this rivalry, the largest margin of victory has only been 5 points, and the last 4 games in this rivalry have been decided by 3 or less. So say what you want about either team right now and how they're playing. I think you kind of throw that out the window just because these two teams always seem to play right down to the wire. So the last time this game was decided by double digits was all the way back in 2019 when the Ravens won 28-10. So expect a dogfight in this game. Regardless if Pickett plays or not, though, I'm going with the Ravens. One of my favorite games of the year. Like I said, always comes down to the end, it seems like, and it's a real physical game. And I just do not have any faith in the Steelers' offense right now, especially with Matt Canada still leading the way. They didn't make any changes there. The Steelers just struggle to move the ball. They're 4th to last in the league in yards per game at only 263, and they're 4th to last in points per game at only 15.5 points per game. There needs to be some more philosophical changes, I think, for this group to get back on track. And they're facing a Ravens defense where it's not going to be easy to start that this week. Ravens are only allowing the 3rd fewest points per game in the league at 14.5. And I think they're the flat-out better team with a better quarterback. And the Steelers have just been very disappointing so far to start the season in my eyes. So I'm going to take the Ravens straight up, but look at those trends that I was talking about at the beginning. I think this game will still be close despite the gap in teams right now. So I will take the Steelers to cover that plus 4.5 and the under of 38.5 to hit. All right, 4th game of the week, we go out to LA with one of the last 2 remaining unbeaten teams in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles, traveling to the 2-2 Los Angeles Rams. You have a 4:05 kickoff on Fox here. Eagles are a 5-point favorite, and the over-under is 47. Do the Eagles stay undefeated in your eyes, Kevin?
I'm going no. Rams upset 30, Eagles 24. Rams obviously covering the 5 points and the over of 47 hidden. The Eagles are 4-0, but they haven't looked great this year. It hasn't been a major concern because, like I said, they are 4-0. They're winning games. I think it catches up to them here on the West Coast, though. There have been many points of concerns for the Eagles to start the year on both sides of the ball. The defense has allowed 9 pass TDs so far this season, which is 3rd most in the league behind the Bears and the Broncos, obviously the 2 worst teams in the league. Matt Stafford on the Rams has seemed to have found his rhythm after a rough year last year. He's averaging over 307 passing yards a game. The Rams are exceeding expectations so far, and a McVay coach team is never something to take lightly. I think the offense for the Eagles continues to not be able to play a full game here like they did last week. They were able to move the ball pretty well last week, but still not finishing drives. 4 field goals for Jake Elliott, and that's just way too much. You need to score touchdowns to win consistently, and I think their inconsistency catches up to them here.
Kev, I'm right there with you here. I think so far we're 4 for 4 on our picks of similarities. I'm going with the Rams to get this outright upset as well. I'm going to take them 27-23, so Rams plus 5 in the over 47. I think the Eagles hit their first bump in the season here. Could be, as you are too, just the Philly fan and us, just watching them so much last year and how good they were. How much just more dominant I think they looked at times throughout the season compared to what they've looked like this year, despite being 4-0. It just seems like they're playing with their food too much and not really taking care of some of these inferior opponents because they still have that really tough stretch coming up. Dolphins, Cowboys, 49ers, Chiefs. They still have so many more tough games than the teams that they've played so far. They better hope they go undefeated throughout this stretch of weaker teams just so they can hopefully still get that number 1 seed, but that's going to be a really tough stretch to overcome if they're playing like they are right now. I think they're lucky to be 4-0 at this point. This Rams team might not be the most talented in the league, but I think they're hungry, they're well coached, and they've been playing really hard. And if you don't believe they're going to win outright, I definitely think you should take them to cover that 5. I think it might already be down to 4.5 actually, because I think this one really will come down to the wire. Cooper Kupp might be back. Puka Nacua, if you ever heard of him before this year, God bless you, but he's looking like one of the top wideouts in the league as a rookie. Matt Stafford's playing great, but the Rams' offensive line has really struggled, and the Eagles' defensive line could wreck this game and potentially win it themselves. So if you think that the Eagles' defensive line is going to be too much for this Rams' offensive line, then I could see the Eagles certainly winning this game. But I do think Sean McVay is a good enough offensive coach going against a defensive coordinator who's a little inexperienced in Sean Desai. I think he's going to be able to scheme some stuff up against him. I think the Eagles have their first slip up of the season here. And maybe it might be for the best. Maybe it's a little bit of a wake-up call, and they kind of figure out things at a better pace going forward. So I'm going to go Rams 27, Eagles 23, Rams +5 over 47. All right, the fifth and final game of the week, one of the best games, I think, on the calendar for the entire NFL regular season. 3-1 Cowboys at the 4-0 49ers, an 8:20 kickoff on Sunday Night Football on NBC. Niners are a 3.5-point favorite, and the over-under sits at 45.
I'm going Niners 34, Cowboys 23. The Niners covering the 3.5 and the over at 45 hidden. The Cowboys have been eliminated in each of the last two playoffs by the Niners, and Jerry Jones said this week that the road to the Super Bowl goes through San Francisco. I mean, he's probably right. The Niners have looked like the top team in the NFL to start the year, pretty much dominating every game on both sides of the ball. They have dudes everywhere, and Brock Purdy's proven that last year just wasn't a fluke, and he is a really good quarterback. And then to make him even better, he's in a great system with Kyle Shanahan. The Cowboys defense is not good against the run, allowing 4.61 yards a carry, which is 27th in the league. And the Niners rush defense is third in the league, allowing only 66 yards a game. I do not, and I don't really ever trust Dak. I actually don't think this game is going to be super close, and the Niners go ahead and establish themselves as the absolute clear favorite in the NFC.
Yeah, I think this is our fourth year doing this show together. I don't know if we've ever gone 5 for 5 together with our picks. We always usually have one or two different ones per week, but I'm going 5 for 5 this week with you, Kev. I'm taking the 49ers to win too. I think it's a little bit lower scoring though. I'm going to go 24-17, 49ers -3.5 and under 45. As I touched on, game of the week for sure, maybe one of the games of the year. I think it's going to come down to this one. Whatever quarterback takes care of the ball better. Brock Purdy has been pretty good at taking care of the football during his young NFL career, and Dak has been a guy that his fatal flaw has been some turnovers in key situations. Both teams very opportunistic defenses that can take the ball away and make some game-changing plays, and Dak does like to turn it over in some big-time spots. So I think that is the main difference in this one. The Cowboys' rush defense, as good as the defense has been as taking the ball away, is still a little bit vulnerable on the run. They're allowing 111.8 rushing yards per game, and they're playing Christian McCaffrey this week, who's already up to 459 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns on the season. So that's going to be a tough pill to swallow, I think, for that Cowboys team. Being able to get this Cowboys team at home as well for the 49ers, I feel like is just pushing everything in favor of the 49ers for this one. 49ers, too, last note on this game, they've won each of their games this year by 7 or more, and even though they really haven't played a legit team, I think, yet, I still have a lot more faith in them. And oddly saying this out loud in Brock Purdy than I do in Dak Prescott with the Cowboys being on the road too. So I'll take the 49ers to kind of win convincingly 24-17. And I really don't think it's that close of a game. Maybe like the Cowboys get kind of a late touchdown to make it within this 7 points, but give me 49ers -3.5 and under 45. All right. Last two segments of the show, the dog of the day and our lock of the week. My dog of the day, my outright underdog winner, going a little bit off the grain here. I'm actually going to take the Vikings. They're +4.5 here at home, and they're playing the Chiefs this week, +180 on the money line. I feel like the Chiefs each and every year lose a couple of games that catch people off guard where they just don't show up 1 week, or like we saw last week with Patrick Mahomes, almost gave away the game with his turnovers. I feel like they're due for a couple of those games each and every year, and I think this one could be one of those games. The Vikings can put up points, can go score for them. If this game gets up into the 40s or 50s, though, I think the Chiefs will eventually outscore them. But if this game's like 35-31, that type range, I think the Vikings are going to be able to pull this off. I think they have the horses to compete with the Chiefs on offense. So playing desperate at home, I think the recipe for an upset is there. So I'm going to go with the Vikings outright over the Chiefs this week.
I'm going Texans +1.5, 106 on the money line. CJ Stroud continues to impress as a rookie, while Desmond Ridder just does not. Atlanta is coming back from London, and the Texans continue to build on their great start in the Stroud-Ryans era.
Yeah, I really have been really impressed with Stroud. That was one I was looking at as well. I could definitely see them pulling that off. Desmond Ritter, though, we look historically, I don't think he's lost a start in college or in the NFL at home. So that's something to look out for there. Lock of the week for me, I'm going to go with under 40.5 in the Patriots Saints game. Just going to keep it really simple with this one. Two bad offenses, two good defenses. I think it's simple enough there, under 40.5. I know the Patriots lost a couple guys with Judon and Christian Gonzalez that could hurt this team, but this Saints offense right now doesn't really strike fear into anyone's eyes. They're the lowest scoring offense, I believe, in the league to start the season. So give me the under 40.5 in Patriots Saints.
I'm going the Dolphins, who are minus 105 against the Giants. The Giants look a mess. Couple people in the dog crate over there. The Dolphins rebound after a rough game this past week. The Giants defense is just not good enough to stop the Dolphins offense. There's also just no way they'll be able to keep up on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, definitely. Dolphins are my survivor pick this week. I think they take care of business in that one, 14 or more probably. So, all right, well, that will do it for NFL Big 5 games of the week. This is probably coming out on Wednesday morning. Kev, what is your prediction for the Phillies series versus the Marlins?
I think they go 3. Phil's win it in 3.
All right, I'm going Phil's in 2 because I'm going tomorrow night, so I hope that I see the clinch out game there. So, all right, that'll do it for NFL Big 5 games of the week. Hopefully when we're back next week, the Eagles are still undefeated and our pick is wrong there. But as always, everyone, thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and we will talk next week.